Charles Oliveira dominates Max Holloway as he becomes a new BMF title winner. However, people don't view him as a BMF. Is it fair? Is it right? Or is it wrong? Plus, we get a win in the co-main event for Bahallo. Drew Dober starches Michael Johnson. Gregory Rodriguez starches Bruno Ferreira. And Raul Rosas Jr. gets a victory over Rob Font. People, UFC 326 is in the books. Not many people are happy though. So we're going to sit back, we're going to chop it up, and we're going to get your thoughts on it. People, welcome to the live reaction show. Let's do this. Yes, lovely people. Hope you're well and welcome back to the channel. Please do smash that like button and subscribe if you're new and all that good stuff too. Right. Shout out to Liam. Dana doesn't know how to excite fans no more, and it's showing. Mantis, big up yourself. Miss Sanderson, big up yourself. Mantis, big up yourself. Liam. I mean, the pay-per-view last night, I went into it with optimism. I went into it thinking there's some fights on here that could be potentially bangers. And let's be real, the card did get off to a good start. Gregory Rodriguez, first round KO. Drew Dober, second round KO. You're thinking, okay. Then you've got Raul Rojas Jr. versus Rob Font, which is the fight that I believe was always going to decision. Raul Rojas Jr. gets the victory by essentially wrestling Rob Font, barely any action, barely any ground and pound, just almost laying and praying, if we're going to be honest. But again, keys and paths to victory, I get it, I understand it. But then you think of the co-main event, the Ridder and Bahallo, two fighters that like to go out there, put it on their opponents and try and get the victory. Both men didn't really feel like they committed to that. And then the final match of the evening, the main event is where we'll start for the BMF title, is a tricky one to analyze and discuss. The BMF belt, if we're going to be honest, is a belt that was almost made up. It was a belt that came to the fore because Nate Diaz and Jorge Masvidal were at the peak of their powers. Both had come off a victory, and both were looking just in the prime of their careers, considering they're on the older side at the time of the fight. And Nate was brilliant in his call out of Masvidal. Masvidal responded brilliantly, and the UFC capitalized on the moment. They created a BMF title, the baddest mother effer in the world. And with Nate Diaz and Masvidal, you could buy into that. Two guys that had the gangster personalities. Nate Diaz throws down with every and anyone at a drop of a dime, whether it be in or out of the octagon. Jorge Masvidal throws down with anyone in or out of the octagon. Like, it just is what it is. These two guys are about that life. And they showed it in the cage, they showed it outside the cage, they showed it with their characters. People bought into it. You had The Rock come out with the first BMF title and was there for the weigh-in, there for the presentation of the BMF to George Masvidal. Everything looked great. And then Dana did say it was going to be one and done. Masvidal said it was going to be one and done. And here's why it gets a little bit dicey. But they got over this road hump. Masvidal's next fight, if I'm not mistaken, after that was a fight against Kamaru Usman. Kamaru Usman not just beat Masvidal, he knocked him out cold. Pretty BMF thing to do. But the belt still stayed with Masvidal. So you're thinking, okay, it was a one and done, cool. If we talk about lineage, though, considering the belt continued to be defended, lineage-wise, Kamaru Usman then became the BMF. But then Kamaru Usman fought Leon Edwards and was head kicked into oblivion. Technically, Leon then became the BMF because of the way the fight went and how the stoppage happened. But again, no one really looked at that because you're thinking it was a one and done. But then the belt was brought out of retirement, it seemed, for Justin Gaethje and Dustin Poirier. And again, I understand it. Two BMFers, two guys you throw down with everyone, leave it all in the octagon, and are those dudes. You know, whenever they show up, they're going to fight. They're going to handle business. They're going to fight, win, lose, or draw. So again, could get on board with it. Justin Gaethje, fantastic head kick knockout. You're thinking, okay, cool. Then you do Max versus Gaethje. And you're like, okay, again, it was meant to be a one and done, but Gaethje won it in spectacular fashion. And Gaethje versus Max, I mean, it's pretty much going to be a war, a stand-up war. And then it was at UFC 300, the featured bout, not the co-main, not the main event. The co-main was Weili versus Zhao Nan. And then the main event was Alex Pereira versus Jamal Hill. And we all remember, probably the most iconic knockout in UFC history. Let's be real. Joe Rogan going crazy. Ash is in the chat, and I've just said that. Oh, Ash is in the chat. I swear, Ash has cursed me. Joe Rogan goes crazy. Cormier goes crazy. Anik goes crazy. Everyone goes crazy. There we go. I knew Ash was going to say something. I flipping knew Ash was going to say something. Everyone goes crazy for the moment. One of the most viral moments in UFC history, right? And then you're thinking, okay, so Max has just become the BMF. But Max was still a title challenger at this point. Gaethje actually wasn't a title challenger. Max calls out Ilia Topuria. The fight happens. Effectively, I'm going to be just honest with you, and I'm saying this as a Max Holloway fan. When I tell you I'm a Max Holloway fan, Max is my guy. He's my guy, one of my favorite fighters, probably my favorite featherweight of all time. The moment that fight happens and Ilia goes to the center of the cage and points down and goes like that, effectively, that's where BMF potentially suffered its first injury. And then Max Holloway gets knocked clean out by Ilia Topuria, stopped in devastating fashion by KO. Effectively, Ilia's then the BMF, effectively. And again, you can sit there and you can make a claim for Ilia being BMF with the way he's dispatched opponents. Volkanovski, knockout. Bryce Mitchell, submission. Josh Emmett, a beatdown. Jai Herbert, devastating knockout. So they keep it with Max. And then him versus Poirier. It's a trilogy fight. There's a story there. Okay, cool. Poirier's retirement fight. Okay, cool. Can Poirier go out with another belt? Obviously, go on the interim 155. Can he go out with another belt? He doesn't. Max wins, does the point down, have a very good fight. It's a great tear up. Max almost stops Poirier, then Poirier almost stops Max. They do the point down in the last 10 seconds. But there's a little bit of prestige gone from it because we just saw Max get starched. Then Ilia Topuria fights Charles Oliveira. He goes out there, predicts to knock Oliveira out in the first round at 155 for his first fight, goes up to 155, and in the first round, he puts Charles to sleep. Devastatingly puts him to sleep. So then when the fight is made between Holloway and Oliveira for the BMF, you're sitting there going, okay, fine, good fight. More than happy to see the fight between the two. But I'm watching two men who are ex-undisputed champions, potentially wanting to fight again for undisputed gold, but two men who are BMFs in their own right, but I've seen both of these men get slept by the same guy who's also in their division. So as of right now, he's the main champion, the undisputed champion, but then you have an interim title holder in Justin Gaethje in that division, and you have a BMF holder in that. You have 3 championships in one weight division. That makes no sense to me. That doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. So they have the fight, and in the lead up to the fight, Charles is saying, look, if he wants to stand in the cage and trade, we can do that. If he wants to point down, we can do that as well. And then Charles goes out there, he lands some good strikes on him, then he takes him down, and you're going, oh, this wasn't in the script. Now, any other fight, if this is a 5-rounder, a main event on a fight night, a 5-rounder main event on a pay-per-view or numbered card now, if this is a 5-round co-main event, any other fight, that's not related to the BMF belt, everyone sits there and goes, right, Oliveira still got it. He's still that guy. And he just dominated Max. But because of the expectation of the BMF, because of the mythology around it, everyone expects to have a tear-up, stand-up fight. And Oliveira just didn't subscribe to that. It was a brilliant performance and a brilliant win from Oliveira. So I take nothing away from him. But what do? You can't really crash out on Oliveira because he found a pathway to win and Max wasn't good enough to stop that path. Now, I do want to share what people have said because then it's going to go into my next point, which might sound a bit controversial. And again, I am a Oliveira guy as well, which is why I was so torn emotionally about this fight. But I do want to bring up some tweets and quotes from people because I do think this also helped feed into a narrative and drive the situation forward. Shout out to Helen Yee, one of the best interviewers in the YouTube space. BMF should have a different special BMF rule set. Conor McGregor on the fight. DC on Max on top. On Max on top. He should stall, LOL. He should have elbowed all the open targets. Payback. Stall, LOL, F off. Shockingly bad fight. I am shocked. Charles is a little Charlie. Very bad, Charles. Very bad. Hang your head, bad. Good luck. Don't crown that belt. Nate Diaz, who fought in the first BMF title fight. These guys are all dorks fighting for my belt. You're welcome. Technically, it was never Nate's belt. He came up with the idea, so to speak, of potentially a BMF, but the company came up with the BMF. He's dubbed the BMF boring mother effers. Ryan Garcia, who's a boxer, says the BMF needs to be required to be a stand and bang. That's it. Then Dana White had this to say about the fight.
Dana, dominant work from Charles Oliveira, but maybe not exactly the fight the crowd was anticipating or looking for. What were your thoughts on the way the main event played?
Well, I don't know if anybody was expecting that. I mean, the way he body locked him and took him down so easily and absolutely dominated him on the ground. I thought there'd be a lot more stand up, and I thought that Max would do a better job at defending the takedown. And if he got on the ground, he'd at least pop up a couple, 3 times during the round, but total domination.
Guys, it feels like it's a lead balloon, this one, and it feels like a massive letdown, and it feels like a lot of people are let down. Now, I understand what Oliveira did. I also understand why Max was caught so off guard as well, because all fight build up, Oliveira's been saying, I'm going to stand in trade with this guy. I'm going to show you that I'm this guy as well. And he didn't. But is that Holloway's fault? Is that Oliveira's fault? Is that the promotion's fault? People are right. Conor McGregor spoke about it in an interview he did with Chael Sonnen, and he was like, why is that? It's not BMF to cut weight. BMF is you go and fight at your walk around weight. You have a tear up there. Like, again, I hate to crap on the promotion, but what did the promotion expect? Like, what? There's no special set of rules for BMF. It's just an MMA fight, but you've attached this mythical belt to it, which has come with mythical expectations. And the person who suffered from it is Charles Oliveira. We should all be sitting here right now lauding that Charles Oliveira performance. That is as dominant as it gets against Max Holloway. The only other person I've seen dominate Max Holloway like that was Volkanovski, and that was the third fight they had. Oliveira did that in the second fight they had, and the first fight was pretty much a no contest almost. Max had no answers for the ground game of Oliveira. The moment he was down, he had nothing for him. And look, Max defended brilliantly. He was trying to get up. He was hitting him from the bottom, but there was nothing he could do. Just nothing he could do. And it makes me ask the question, guys, and a genuine question. Should the BMF title be retired now? Because I look around, Poirier's retired, Gaethje's going for undisputed gold, and effectively has said he's closed his chapter on the BMF. Max has just lost the BMF. Masvidal's no longer about. Nate's not in the organization anymore. Conor, in my opinion, is not going to fight Charles Oliveira after that performance, nor do I think the promotion will make that fight, because they know if Oliveira can do that to Holloway, he can do that to McGregor and probably even worse. So I asked the question, guys, should it be retired? And I'm going to answer my question. I think it should be. Oliveira is ranked top 2 in second in the division behind Arman Sarukian, if I'm not mistaken. Charles has every right to say, well, I'm one fight away from fighting for the undisputed belt, especially if Gaethje wins. If Gaethje wins, you can do Charles versus Gaethje. I know Arman should still be next, but you could still do that fight. Ultimately, guys, I don't see a pathway for the BMF belt. I know people were saying that Benoit Saint-Denis could potentially... I mean, Charles versus Benoit for the BMF, okay. Doesn't really move me like that, though. Charles versus McGregor for the BMF, from a name value perspective, yeah, all fun. But doesn't really move me, because I think the result's going to be very... It's a formality. Charles does what he did to Holloway. Ultimately, guys, I think the BMF title died yesterday, and I don't see any point in bringing him back. I don't see any point in bringing him back. So I would leave it. So that's just me, guys. The co-main event, Bahalio versus Reina Derrida. Underwhelming. I thought both men landed some good strikes. Derrida still doesn't seem like he got the confidence back after his last loss to Brendan Allen. In good shape, was fighting till the end. But yeah, it just seemed like Kai Bahalio was able to get the better of him. And then go from there. I don't know where both men go. I am going to release a video tomorrow of every fight to make after UFC 326. Both men didn't really do much to help themselves. Kai Bahalio was saying he wants a title shot. He can't get a title shot based off that performance. Not when there's others ahead of him in the division as well who've done better work than that recently, such as Sean Strickland, Brendan Allen, etc. Then you also look at the featured bout, which was Raul Rojas Jr. versus Rob Font. This was meant to be Raul Rojas Jr.'s coming out fight, a fight against a veteran, but someone who's got a number against their name. And yes, he won the fight pretty comfortably. He pretty much did a Charles Oliveira to Max Holloway. The difference is he doesn't have that name value yet. And when you talk how he's talked, and when you are backed by the promotion how he's backed, unfortunately, if you don't go out there and deliver stunning performances, the opposite happens to you. And then you also think about the first 2 fights, which were brilliant. Drew Dober versus Michael Johnson. Again, some betting irregularities before the fight with Michael Johnson. Again, I don't think that's to do with him. Dana kind of shut that down. But again, Drew Dober went out there and starched him. Very good performance by Drew Dober. I still don't know. I don't think Michael Johnson goes anywhere from there. I wouldn't mind seeing him versus Slayer Bobby Green, if I'm going to be honest. I think that could be a fun fight. Both fighters you like to throw down, both are strikers. I think that could be a fun fight. Drew Dober, I think, should continue. He's someone who's always fun to watch and always turns up and puts his best foot forward. And Rodriguez in a rematch. Not many people actually realized it was a rematch with Bruno Ferreira. Just first right he landed, first overhand right he landed, and that was it. Excellent stoppage by the referee, and just did the business. All in all, guys, the card didn't live up to expectation, and that's kind of been a thing with this year. None of the cards, in my opinion, have really lived up to the reputation of the fighters, nor has it lived up to the expectation. I'm going to be honest, I'm going to give this pay-per-view probably a 5 out of 10, and that might even be being generous. In regards to the UFC, they need to get a grip, man. They released a White House card, and I'll speak about that in a separate video. But people aren't happy about that. People aren't happy about the BMF title. People aren't happy about the 326 card. They need to really get into gear. And shout out to Liam with the first comment of this video. Dana doesn't know how to excite fans no more, and it's showing. And I've said this. Jamie said this. Luke said this. Calvin, my brother, said this. Everyone who's had a platform on this channel, Josh, who's regularly in the comment section, Ash has said this. Like, the UFC is starting to fail a little bit, and it's hard to see this. And it's because Dana just doesn't seem to have that appetite like he did before for it. BMF stuff just puts an expectation on the fight that tonight took away from basically a flawless performance. Facts. Ash says we're all cattle. Just so happens I'm Wagyu. Quote of the year, and Mac ain't even active. Yep. McGregor definitely did his business when it came to promoting himself again. Mantis says, Cow, the belt has always been a gimmick to me, and I'll tell you why. If you're in the UFC, you're a BMF period. And that being said, Charlie absolutely did on the ground what a top striker does on the feet. Facts. Mantis says, however, I get where the complaints are coming from. I agreed. Sounds like there's not much wrong with it the way you explain it. Allow me, Ash, man. Shout out to Kickers, says big up yourself, Kickers. Mantis says it should have been one and done. This gimmick has gone on long enough. I agree. Ash says I think if Max won last night, they would have got McGregor versus Max for the BMF. It would have sold. Not now. Mac versus Oliveira not happening. I hear it. I fully agree. Here's the thing. I still think you can do Max and McGregor. It's not like McGregor's coming off a win, guys. He's coming off not fighting for years and 2 back-to-back defeats. One of those which he broke his leg. I still think you do Max versus McGregor personally. Can't lie. I wanted Charles to win. I had money on him, but I was shocked that was his game plan. We're shocked it was his game plan because he kind of catfished us, but really, truly, that was the right game plan. Mantis says, I get it, but to put in comparison, Max was rocked on his feet for 5 rounds if it was on the feet. I mean, Max got rocked in the first round and in the 5th round, but he also rocked Oliveira with the very last fight. Ash, I'm not going to read that one. That's crazy. Very good pun, though. Mantis says, I don't get this, in my opinion. He was looking for the finish the entire time. I agree, but it's a ground fight, and that people don't associate that with a BMF, given what's happened. If anything, it's the promotion. If you want to stand, then don't book the company's best submission artist. Facts. Cringe Gus says, based on Dana's comments after the fight, Arman ain't getting no favors soon. Yeah, but Arman needs to fight for the belt anyway. Shout out to Mantis, said he called out DDP. Shout out to Lactic Acid as well regarding Kaiba Halil. He did, but he was also insinuating getting a title shot. Him versus DDP is a fun fight, though, and I think it's a good fight for DDP to come back in too as well. Kickers said the White House card is so trash. UFC is too commercial. It's lost its organic growth. The suits have taken over. Boy, oh boy, people, you guys have spoken, and if I'm going to be honest, I agree with everything you're saying. I'm a hardcore fan in terms of the UFC and MMA, so I'm not going to stop watching the product. But I spoke to one of my good friends who he himself calls himself a casual, and he was just like, there's just no big stars, Cal, and they don't promote it very well. And obviously us being in the UK, and I will be going to the UFC London event, God willing, and doing some work there as well. I look at that card and I think you've got so many top quality fighters, like, and it's a London card. Like Lerone Murphy versus Evloev as the main event is great, but why is MVP not the co-main event? Why is Nathaniel Wood not on the main card, considering he's a Londoner and carries a massive London crowd with him? You just only have to watch his Cage Warrior fights to see how popular Nathaniel Woods is. Why wasn't Arnold Allen put on his card? Why are you not bringing back Makayev? I don't know, man. I really don't know. Shout out to Ash, says Joe Gomez on comms was good. Ash, man. Every flipping time. But look, people, I'm going to wrap up there. As I said, there'll be a couple of videos coming out tomorrow. We'll have MMA Monday live show straight after the morning meetup on Coppish. Then I'm going to release a video with Matchmaker Monday with all the fights to make up UFC 326 and my opinion on the UFC White House card as well. People, please do smash the like button. Also want to thank Ash for the super chat as well. Really appreciate any super chat we get. Big up to Gaz last night as well. The Herdsman often super chats as well, but also big up to you guys who always keep the comment section flowing, such as your Mantis, Ash, Josh, I know he's in here, Kickers, Cringe Gov, Lactic Acid, Liam, Violet Speaker, Emil Heskey, big up yourself as well, bro. Appreciate all you guys, man. And the channel is starting to grow again, so please do subscribe if you're new. Let me know your thoughts. Should the BMF belt be retired? Yes or no? Let me know in the comment section. People, I'm going to wrap up here. UFC 326 is in the book. This has been the live reaction. Until I see you again, man, how you going? Thanks for watching the Sanderson Show. Take care, everyone. Speak soon.